The Atlantic Baseball League is a fictional league, run through the excellent Out-of-the-Park Baseball computer program. The league is a hybrid mix of real cities, partially accurate history, with a lot of fictional elements mixed in. Since Atlantic Canada doesn't have actual professional baseball, this league is a look at what pro baseball could look like if a league had formed in the 1970s. Today, we will look at the history of the league, its formation, and its growth to what it is today. Baseball has been played in Atlantic Canada since the late 1800s. In fact, teams such as the Fredericton Royals have been playing games since 1895, and baseball games had been played in the Miramichi area since the 1860s. Throughout the 20th century, baseball's popularity continued to grow, and a solid collection of amateur squads would take hold. By the early 1970s, amateur senior baseball games were still pulling fans by the thousands in many cities across Atlantic Canada. Despite the lack of a pro league, the area was a hotbed of baseball. And soon meetings were held by officials of the local senior circuits in New Brunswick, Nova Scotia and Prince Edward Island about the possibility of including pro baseball in the region. A pro league, although an expensive idea, would keep baseball flourishing and keep youth involved in the sport by giving them a legitimate way to earn a living playing the game. In 1973, the initial proposal was for 5 local cities to apply to join American AA minor leagues, but this idea was quickly shot down. It was decided that a self-contained pro league with familiar teams and cities was needed to keep fans truly interested. The second proposal was of an independent pro league, separate from MLB's umbrella, pulling teams from the area's bigger cities. That would operate in such a fashion to offer players modest but livable wages. The league's idea was voted through, and in October 1975, the framework for what would become the Atlantic Baseball League was formed. Cities could bid to be admitted to the new league, which planned to debut for the 1977 season, given they had a park able to hold 2,000 fans or more, and able to pull 1,000 fans a game on average to be financially viable. Eventually, 10 teams were selected to become the inaugural version of the ABL. When 1977 finally arrived, the ABL was split into 2 leagues, Continental and Ocean, in order to create a similar structure to the major leagues. The Continental League would feature teams from New Brunswick and Prince Edward Island. When the league formed, these included the Bathurst Pirates, Chatham Ironmen, Fredericton Royals, PEI Lions and St. John Alpines. Meanwhile, the Ocean League would initially feature teams from Nova Scotia, but would eventually expand to include Newfoundland. The inaugural teams were the Amherst Blazers, Cape Breton Highlanders, Dartmouth Mariners, Halifax Schooners and Truro Bears. On August 29, 1977, in front of a sold-out crowd, Fredericton would defeat Amherst in the first ever Atlantic Final Series. The league minimum wage was set at $7,500 per year. The average player salary was just shy of $17,000 in its inaugural campaign, and Craig Johnston of St. John was the league's highest-paid player at $48,400. Today, the average player salary is $42,000 per year, with stars able to make as much as $100K. In order to ensure the health of Little League and high school baseball, it was decided that each team can only have 2 import players on their roster at any given time. However, that rule rarely needs to be considered, given how competitive youth baseball is in the area. This is not to say that players from elsewhere didn't leave their mark. Wilson Gonzalez of the Dominican Republic ranks 18th in career games played, 60th in career RBI, won 6 Big Glove awards, and was voted an All-Star in his very productive 17-year career. Meanwhile, Truro Bears fans of the 90s will remember the Cuban 1-2 pitching duo of Edwin Jaramillo and Diego Gomez, who would each strike out over 1,200 batters in their careers. Gomez's 1,272 Ks is a record for an import player, and ranked number 53 all-time. Back to our timeline. As the 1980s arrived, the league was enjoying massive success. Stands were full, and cities were knocking on the door to join the fun. In 1984, the league expanded for the first time, adding the Moncton Express and Newfoundland Reds. The addition of the Reds meant that the ABL footprint now covered all 4 Atlantic Canadian provinces. The decade of the 80s belonged to the Chatham Ironmen, as they reached the finals 5 times during the decade, and won 3 championships. 1988 also brought new teams in St. Stephen and Corner Brook, as the league continued to expand. By the early 90s, the new major force was the Fredericton Royals, who reached the finals 6 times in 7 years, and won the Atlantic title 4 years in a row. This is also when we start to see some career achievements. On July 8, 1985, Doug Burke became the first pitcher to reach 1,000 strikeouts. In July 1993, Cliff Normore would push this total to 1,500. Today, the record is held by Brad G., with 2,319 strikeouts. Meanwhile, Willis Rudge became the first player to smash 200 home runs in 1997. Mark Frazier pushed the total to 300 in 2004. Today, the record is held by the ageless Teddy Sampson, with 428. At age 43 and still under contract until next year with Annapolis Valley, Sampson could push the record even further. As of today, there have been 3 perfect games in ABL history. On June 11, 1984, Jeff McKenzie became the first to reach this milestone. One of the smallest and shortest pitchers in league history, McKenzie was an unlikely candidate, but used his pinpoint control and devastating changeup to good effect. 15 years later, in June 1999, Cape Breton's legendary fireballer G. Kim added his name to the list. In 2008, Mark Latimer became the 3rd and most recent player to get a perfect game. Amusingly, he did so against the Dieppe Aces, his former team that had unceremoniously dropped him a few years earlier. Through the 90s, the league continued to evolve and grow. Pictou County joined in 1994 after acquiring the remains of the club in Amherst, and the Chatham Ironman was renamed the Miramichi Ironman in 1997. Dieppe and Annapolis Valley joined the league in 1995, and a long-awaited All-Star game was created for 1996. The season was progressively lengthened from 68 games to today's 96. 4 new teams were added in 1999, and 4 more in 2004 to bring us to our current total of 24 teams. The new teams were able to find success, too, which benefited the fanbases of these newly minted clubs. Dieppe reached the Atlantic Finals in 1998 in only their 4th season. Annapolis Valley, also formed in 1995, became champions in '99 in only their 5th season. Conception Bay reached the finals in 2006 in their 3rd season, and Bridgewater also became champions in their 5th season, in 2008. If you're wondering, the record for quickest champion was the 1990 Corner Brook Admirals, when they won it all in only their 3rd season. In this environment, baseball is easily the favorite sport of the area, and the 24 fanbase has become well established. Keep an eye out for the next 2 videos, as we look closer at the history of the teams that make up the ABL. Then, we will look closer at the players on our team, the Shediac Golden Sails. For the final part of this video, here is a look at some key league records. Thanks everyone for watching, and stay tuned for more, as we get ready for the 2022 ABL season.